everyone today who's attending. This is actually the first event of 2022 that we've delivered in conjunction with We Are Staffordshire. Next slide, please. In terms of Make It, you may have heard about Make It before. We are actually now in our 10th year of operating, and we are the inward investment service for Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, offering a free service for businesses. And we've got three main pillars that we deliver on. The first one is supporting existing businesses with expansion plans and growth, relocating new businesses into the area, and also attracting and retaining foreign direct investment. Throughout the pandemic, it has remained actually extremely buoyant, and we've been extremely busy in terms of the constant flow of inquiries that we've had from businesses. In the last 12 months alone, again, we've been very busy. So Ceramic Valley Enterprise Zone, 12 units that were developed by the council on Etruria Valley. The majority of those are actually now occupied by businesses that are growing and expanding. On the same site, St Modwyn's latest unit of 43,000 square feet is now occupied by a company called Eurostar Global Electronics. And St Modwyn's are actually developing two further large units on that site itself. And they already have interest from a number of occupiers. Obviously, the West Midlands Designer Outlet opened in April, and actually that's creating 1,000 jobs, which is actually great for Staffordshire. Tungsten Park completed development in 2020, 86,000 square foot of space across 4 buildings, with local company Woolcool Packaging occupying 26,000 square foot. So again, another success story of a successful business growing in Staffordshire. St Modwyn's South, again, new tenants include E.ON and a company called Nida, who's been based in Stoke-on-Trent for a number of years. It's grown. And the 2 other units of 26,000 square feet and 75,000 square feet leases were signed in June. They're all very positive news. The I-54 Western Extension, obviously construction started on that site back in 2011 when Make It was established. It now has over 2.5 million square feet of new buildings and some 2,700 people employed across that site. The expansion is set to complete soon, delivering up to another 100,000 square metres of ready-made development platforms for businesses. The expansion plans aim to boost a further 1,500 new jobs, which will mean that the overall site since 2011 has created 4,000 jobs for Staffordshire. In terms of moving forward, we've got lots of plans in place. We're producing a new series of marketing collateral to showcase the investment packages right across Staffordshire. We've got a number of different events that we'll be attending. Not only just with Make It, but we will be doing that in conjunction with We Are Staffordshire. And that will include MIPIM in March and also a new exhibition, which is UK Reef, that's taking place in May. We're working closer than ever with DIT, Trade and Investment, and also the Midlands Engine Trade and Investment Group. We're working closely with them, meeting on a regular basis. And they are now developing something called their new Atlas, and a lot of the sites across Staffordshire will be profiled within that Atlas as part of Midlands Engine. There's also a large pipeline of exciting developments starting, some of which my colleagues will be talking about later on, from enterprise units to large-scale projects in town centres. Finally, we are here to support businesses to grow and prosper across Staffordshire. I'm now going to hand over to Alan Rogers, the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership.
Thanks, Caroline, and thanks for joining us, everybody. And it's a real pleasure to be asked to host this, which is our sixth ambassador event. And if you haven't seen the previous five, they were excellent and been some really interesting content. My favourite being that it delivered live from a zoo. So if you want to go and find those, then they're really interesting to see. So as I say, I'm really excited to be asked to host. There were over 150 registrations for today's call, so it's really great to see so many people who've actually been able to join us today. I will be hosting the event today, so if you have any questions, just fire those into the Q&A window. I'll keep track of those, and then towards the end, I'll take those questions and pass them to our panelists. So please get involved, and the more questions, the better, and you can really help us bring that interactive session to life. It is sad not to be at the Shire Hall. It's really exciting to see that fantastic heritage asset being brought back into use, and it's a real shame we're not there. But if I think about my connection with this place, I'm actually a Lancashire lad born and bred, and I came to Staffordshire in my teens, and I've never left. And it's been really great to build my business, build my family, and build my life here. And then lastly, get involved with things like the LEP and be part of investing in this area. And I think today's session, which is all about the investment that we're driving and the economic investment activity in this area, is one of the things that's attracted me and convinced me to stay during all of that time as well. And I think the power of these events is about hearing about all of those new initiatives that continue to happen across the area and the success stories. And I think going back to how Louisa opened us, for you, our wider sales team, it's really good for you to hear those anecdotes so you can build those into your pitch as you're talking about this fantastic area. As Caroline has said, it is the first time that we've joined forces with our commercial sales team as they are in Make It, who are out selling our development land and driving economic development. And it's great to have them talk about those stories today as well. And today, in terms of our main content, we'll be hearing from businesses and leaders across the patch. And we're going to be talking about what a county deal is and what it could mean for our county. We'll also be talking about how we can position Staffordshire as the best place to start up and grow businesses, with support through our enterprise centres and a wide range of services that are available through the LEP, such as the Growth Hub and so many other services that are available. And if you're looking for any information on that, feel free to reach out to pretty much anyone on the call. We have a start anywhere, we'll get you to the right place attitude. So feel free to reach out to anybody and we'll make sure you get the right advice. We'll be hearing about the vision for Stafford Town Centres, that what will be the heart of Staffordshire, and through the key regeneration sites, which will include Eastgate. We're also going to be hearing from about how connectivity and the transport infrastructure offers Staffordshire a golden opportunity through HS2 interchange and beyond. And Staffordshire has always had fantastic connectivity with the A38, the A5, the M6, and that is one of the reasons that attracted me here and attracted me to build my business here. And those continued investments through HS2 just really continue to keep Stafford at the top of what should be most people's list when they're looking for a location to start and build a business and also a home. So in terms of our panelists today, I'm going to be joined by Alan White, who's the leader of Staffordshire County Council, Karen Heppenstall, who's the head of rail at Midlands Connect, also going to be joined by Matt Hustwit, who's a senior investment manager at the Make It team, Nicola Kent, who's the head of business and enterprise for Staffordshire County Council. So after all the speakers have presented, I'll be bringing them all back together again to join the panel for any questions as part of the Q&A. So please give me lots of questions so I can put those to our panelists at the end. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Alan White, who's the leader of Staffordshire.
I'm going to say good morning, but my screen has frozen, so I don't know if anybody can hear me. If you could put in the chat box that you can, that would be great.
We can hear you, Alan. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Good morning. I'm delighted to join you at the start of a new year with the promise and excitement that a new year always brings. I'm trusting that Alan will indicate to me if I trespass on the time of others. So Alan, if I could rely on you to do that, that would be brilliant. Collaboration is at the heart of what we do best in Staffordshire. And the Ambassador Programme is about bringing the best of our county together so we all act as a sales force for this place. This morning, I will be talking to you about how councils across Staffordshire will this year be working closer than ever together to improve the lives of the people in Staffordshire, support businesses, and make our county an even better place to live, raise a family, and run a business. Here in Staffordshire, we have a two-tier system of local government, and some people on the call, that might not mean a great deal, but I'll explain a bit more now. The County Council serves all 850,000 people and is responsible for a wide range of services from social care for adults and children, fixing our roads and creating conditions for economic growth. Our 8 district and borough councils are responsible for services like bin collections, planning, parks and leisure services. Stoke-on-Trent City Council is what's called a unitary council, so it provides all the services I've just listed previously for the city of Stoke-on-Trent. All of our Staffordshire councils have long worked together on development of business parks, for example I-54, and regeneration of town centres. But we've never worked better than we did during the course of the pandemic, working together to keep people safe. Examples include creating and distributing food parcels and the great network of volunteers we had to support us during that time. Supporting businesses where the districts and boroughs were absolutely tremendous at getting out grants and advice to businesses who were confronted by the pandemic. Managing outbreaks where we worked together as a team and running and testing vaccine clinics. We pulled together in the crisis, and fellow leaders of councils are determined that the spirit of collaboration continues to extend beyond the pandemic. When we come together, we think bigger, we act bigger, and we can achieve more. What we don't want to do in Staffordshire is reorganise local government and spend years debating the format and the names of new structures and committees. That would be a waste of time. We're not looking for a new mayor for the county. We're coming out of a pandemic and we want to be totally focused on supporting and accelerating our recovery, focused on Staffordshire. Through recent conversations that I and the leaders of our 8 districts and boroughs have identified a number of areas where we can explore more joint working. And they include, but aren't limited to, the economy, how we create the right conditions for more and better paid jobs. And sitting underneath that is all sorts of things we can do together involving planning and working on things like Section 106 agreements, which are the funding we get to support the development of infrastructure after growth. Climate change, bringing together skills to move to net zero. Improving public services by creating a single front door. Most people just refer to, in inverted commas, the council. They don't know whether or not they're talking about their parish council, their district council, the borough council, the city council, or the county council. And improving the public services by creating a single front door will relieve people of the burden of trying to work out where to go next to get a problem solved. We want to work together on waste by increasing recycling and exploring further collaboration in the disposal of waste. We want to improve public health in all we do, from the houses we build, to the communities we create, to the parks and leisure services that we all provide. This is a big, ambitious agenda, and to drive it forward, we are creating a new leaders board. It'll have a detailed programme of work. We've been engaging with Stoke, and Stoke have been in discussions about the leaders board with us, but they've got their own ambitious programme and have chosen not to join the board at this stage. Of course, we will continue to talk to our partners on the City Council about joint opportunities, and the City Council have indicated they'd be more than willing to join in those opportunities that benefit both us and Staffordshire, which is absolutely fantastic. We're also talking to our members of Parliament and government, but I think everybody on this call knows that government is just a tad distracted at the moment. So it could be that we might not get a hearing properly for the time being, but we're certainly making noises, the right noises. We're hoping to see what's called the Levelling Up White Paper as well very soon. We've been promised it will be in the next couple of weeks, and that will demonstrate what government is willing to do itself to help us support our ambitions for this county. We want to see greater freedoms and certainly more funding for shire areas. If in the future, through a county deal, we can accelerate the programme of work we are doing here, we want to be part of the conversation. A deal with government or no deal with government, the collaboration we put in place is here to stay because it benefits our residents and it makes their lives better and easier. It's not just about councils. We want to work with businesses and other public and private partners to revitalise Staffordshire and its economy, to create more jobs and opportunities, showcase this county as one of the best places to live, visit or do business. Staffordshire is perfectly placed to turn the government's levelling up vision into a reality. Investment in Staffordshire delivers excellent returns for UK PLC, and thanks to We Are Staffordshire, events such as this, and thanks to you for telling the story of Staffordshire wherever you go. I just want to finish by just referencing the point that was made about the celebration of Staffordshire at the House of Commons. The last time we did that, when I was present, I was overwhelmed by the quality of the offering that Staffordshire put forward to members of Parliament, and also delighted to see in the audience various secretaries of state, ministers and other MPs from around the country wanting to come and see what Staffordshire has to offer. So if you can be part of that, that would be absolutely brilliant. Alan, that concludes my piece for now, and I'm going to hand back to you to continue to take the day forward.
Thanks, Alan, and that's really exciting to see how we're coming together. And as you say, we're starting to take some of the complexity of how local government works and hide that away from citizens, so that it's about giving good quality services and having a joint approach to developing our whole area. So that's really exciting. And with that, I'd now like to turn my head to introduce Karen Heppenstall, who's the head of rail for Midlands Connect. And Karen, as all of our panelists, will be taking questions at the end, so please pile your questions into the Q&A at the bottom of your screens. I'm looking forward to putting those questions to the panelists. Karen will talk to us about Midlands Connect. She'll also be talking about the connectivity and infrastructure that's in Staffordshire, including HS2, but also thinking about the A500 and A50 as well, and also helping us draw those links between connectivity and prosperity. So without further ado, Karen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alan, and thank you to everyone for inviting me to speak today. Would you like to go on to the next slide, please? So yeah, as Alan says, I'm going to speak to you a little bit today about the role that connectivity plays in promoting economic growth across the county of Staffordshire. Although I'll start with a very quick introduction as to what Midlands Connect does. If you want to go on to the next slide, please. Again, thank you. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Midlands Connect is one of 7 subnational transport bodies across England, alongside Transport for Wales and Transport Scotland, representing those countries as well. Staffordshire sits entirely within the Midlands Connect boundary, and Midlands Connect covers the geography essentially across the whole of the Midlands, from the Welsh borders, Shropshire and Worcestershire, all the way across to the Lincolnshire coast. Staffordshire is one of the more northern counties within our region, and we go all the way down to places like Northamptonshire, as I said, Worcestershire I mentioned before. So in terms of what our role is, we have a remit from government. Not quite yet, please. Back to the previous slide, thank you. In terms of what our role is, we've got a remit from DfT to establish and retain a strategic transport plan for the region. And in terms of what that looks to do in the Midlands, our focuses are essentially threefold. First of all, we want to improve east-west connectivity across the region, and make sure all our towns and cities are as well connected as they possibly can be, as we have lots of evidence to show that really promotes economic growth, helps with access to jobs and education, and improves productivity. So all the kind of buzzwords that we'll talk about lots today. Secondly, HS2 is coming to the region. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments, but throughout all of our documentation, we talk about making the most of HS2 for the region and making sure the whole of the Midlands is as well connected to that HS2 network when it arrives as it can be. Finally, and really chiming with today's theme, is about fostering trade and innovation. So it's about making sure that we have links with Midlands Engine. We have a really strong partnership with Midlands Engine, and making sure we keep in touch with people like Alan at the LEP, and all EPs across the region to make sure that we can support you as best we can to help you to do the trade that you need to do, and also to develop and create a healthy environment for innovation to prosper across the region. Okay, next slide, please. So we've been around since about 2015, and our first formal publication was our strategy in 2017. And within that strategy, we identified a number of economic hubs and strategic growth corridors, which you can see on the map on the right-hand side of the screen now. Stoke and Staffordshire are clearly part of that network of hubs and corridors, demonstrated to be, as I say, a key economic zone within the Midlands. We also identified as part of that strategy that faster and more reliable journeys, both by road and rail, would help to drive economic growth across the region. And we set a number of conditional outputs, again, for both road and rail, to help to improve that connectivity. When I talk about conditional outputs, I'm talking about some specific targets in terms of journey times, frequencies of train services that we've specifically identified and needed to achieve our economic growth targets. Although the conditional bit of that is that they are conditional on being able to demonstrate good value for money to government, for government to decide to invest in them. The rail ones are shown on the screen, but we have equivalent road ones as well. So the rail conditional outputs were really about providing better direct connectivity between our towns and cities, faster journey speeds, and also capacity on the network, both for passenger and freight, throughout the day, to make sure that we can transport every person and everything that needs to be transported around the region. We're in the process of refreshing our strategy at the moment, and our mantra going forward from 22 onwards is to build a fairer, greener and stronger Midlands. So really recognising the changing environment to emphasise the importance of both levelling up and decarbonisation that Alan has already spoken about. Next slide, please. So, as I've mentioned already, HS2 is a really important aspect of connectivity across our region. We've had recent announcements to reconfirm that HS2 is going ahead, and just earlier this week, the hybrid bill for phase 2A between Crewe and Manchester was lodged at Parliament to follow the hybrid bills that have already been approved for phase 1 and phase 2A from London to Birmingham and then Birmingham to Crewe. So what does HS2 mean for our region? So first of all, it's going to bring Birmingham and the West Midlands and all of Staffordshire within an hour's journey of a number of really key economic centres, not just in the Midlands, but across the country. So better connections to London, Manchester, Liverpool, and the East Midlands, which is really important to us. In parallel to that, it also creates additional capacity on the existing network, which is also really important. Everyone thinks that HS2 is about speed, but actually what it's really about is capacity and connectivity. It's about being able to make more journeys, better journeys, between lots more places that are currently directly connected. And of course, it is going to deliver economic benefits to the whole of the Midlands, but in particular to the West Midlands. And we're expecting HS2 to arrive, touch wood, with a fair wind, in Birmingham in 2029 and in Crewe in 2029. So benefits to the West Midlands from 2029 onwards. For those of you who are kind of up to date on transport news, I've already mentioned the hybrid bill. A really important document to us called the Integrated Rail Plan was published in November, and that was another document that reconfirmed how important HS2 is and what that's actually going to deliver for the region. Okay, next slide, please. So diving a little bit more into the detail of what HS2 means for Staffordshire. Again, for those of you who have been around a little while in the transport industry, about a number of years ago, Stoke and Staffordshire together put a campaign together to make sure that when HS2 reached Birmingham, trains were able to run from the HS2 network directly onto the conventional network to serve Stafford and Stoke directly. That little link close to Lichfield is called the Handsacre link, and as I say, that will enable HS2 trains to run directly off the HS2 network, just a little bit north of Birmingham, onto the conventional network and bring HS2 trains directly to Stafford and Stoke. So there's going to be one HS2 train an hour to both of your big cities, that's what enables the one train an hour and the sub-hourly journey time from London to both Stafford and Stoke. So that's really good news, and that's all confirmed, and construction has started on that now. The other really important aspect, again, I've touched on it already, is the aspect of released capacity. Now, what that means is not just fast trains between London, Stafford and Stoke, but actually also better intermediate connectivity between Stafford, Stoke, on up to Manchester, and then places such as Lichfield, Rugeley are also due to benefit from more frequent services to Birmingham, Manchester and London as a result. And all of this connectivity, well, what does it mean? It means that more people can get to more places in Staffordshire and choose to invest in your towns and cities, which I think is really good news. So that's what we're doing that's what's happening in terms of HS2 and rail. Moving on now a little bit to talk about the road investment that Midlands Connect are also looking at. And the key corridor that we're working on at the moment in Staffordshire is the A50 and A500 corridor that I'm sure you will all know connects Stoke-on-Trent with Derby. So again, focusing really on that east-west connectivity. It's a real buzz corridor in terms of industry, with a number of really key automotive businesses and others located along that corridor. A few of them are mentioned on the slide there: JCB, Toyota, Rolls-Royce and Bombardier are in Derby. JCB obviously in Stoke and further along. It's a really key corridor. It generates a significant amount of the GVA within Staffordshire as well. So there are some problems with the corridor in that it sort of provides two different transport functions for transport. It has strategic functionality, so it provides for long distance journeys, both for freight and private car along the corridor, but it also provides that commuter traffic, so local journeys going into both Stoke and Derby and some of the other towns along the corridor, and that creates a bit of conflict along the corridor. So what our investment is looking to do is to try and alleviate some of the congestion along the corridor and try and separate strategic from local transport. We've broken the corridor down into three sections: the western section, the central section and the eastern section. I won't talk about the eastern section today because that's predominantly within Derbyshire. The ones of interest to you will be the central section, the western section. So the western section kind of focuses around the city centre through Stoke. The A5, I suppose the A500 bit of the corridor, which many of you will know is very heavily congested and causes air quality problems within Stoke city centre. It's also the key link into some of the places mentioned earlier, such as Etruria Valley and other key economic growth sites within Stoke. And our proposals for that are essentially twofold. One is to try and create a better corridor in terms of public transport and active modes, so dedicating some of that road space to more sustainable transport, so that people can be encouraged out of their cars and travel in a different way to help with the air quality issues. Alongside that, however, we're also going to look at making improvements to the junctions from the A50, from the A500 with the M6, as those are also key congestion issues, which will help with strategic flows of traffic and get those strategic flows through the area faster. In terms of the central section, again, quite heavily congested, and a real focus on improving some of the critical junctions there around Blythebridge, Uttoxeter and Sudbury, to again improve the flow for both local and strategic transport. For many of you who you will also know, there's a rail corridor that runs parallel to the A50 and A500, and we are currently doing a study and a strategy for the rail corridor at the moment to try and again identify what options we have for moving people out of their cars and onto public transport through better use of that rail corridor. So lots of exciting stuff happening across the whole of Staffordshire in terms of transport that we really hope will help to kind of promote economic growth and improve productivity. If you just want to go on to my final slide, please. So what do we think this all means from an economic perspective? So first of all, HS2 arriving in Staffordshire is fully expected to promote regeneration, specifically around the stations, but even in the wider areas. I know Matthew is going to talk about the investment in Stafford City Centre, but there is planned, I know from a previous role that there is planned investment around Stoke-on-Trent station as well, that's kind of very much driven by the arrival of HS2. And that's bringing lots of new commercial opportunities to the immediate area around the stations, and we should see kind of really vibrant economic hubs directly around the stations as a result of that HS2 investment. We're also expecting the transport investment to enable investment in housing, in particular affordable housing across Staffordshire, which should help with some of the challenges around levelling up in the area. I've already talked a little bit about what our investment in the A500 is going to do around air quality, but obviously modal shift from cars and from freight traffic onto the railway will also help reduce CO2 emissions and help to drive the decarbonisation agenda across the county. Finally, finally, in terms of what I've picked out as the key themes for today, at least, there are lots more economic benefits than I'm talking about today, is the opportunity to provide access to education, skills and employment across the region, to upskill our young people and enable them to really go into exciting and innovative careers that help to make the economy thrive. So it's a really exciting time to be working in transport, a really exciting time to be in Staffordshire, and I'll hand back to Alan on that note to take the session forward.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks to all my speakers for being so well behaved. We're just right on time, and thanks to Karen for talking about the work about Midlands Connect. So as a Midlands Connect Strategic Board member, I'm plugged into all of those things and the work that they do. I think it's really important to think about the benefits we're going to get from HS2 reaching right into Stafford and Stoke and that additional capacity. It was only 20 years ago when I was getting trains from Stafford into London, and it was just over an hour, and that the journey times increased by over 15% due to congestion. So that additional capacity will make a massive difference to us, and also about those east-west links that will continue to drive more economic investment in our area as well. And moving further to Stafford now, I'd like to introduce Matt Huswitt, who's the Senior Investment Manager at Make It, and he's going to talk to us about the investment opportunities and the activity that's going on in Stafford Borough, and the work that's being done to reimagine our high streets as a place to live, work, visit and play, and the vision for delivering a Stafford for the future. So over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here today speaking to you. Unfortunately, Michelle's Smith was due to do this session for you, but she can no longer make it. So I'm representing the borough. I actually work for the Make It service and cover Staffordshire. So as I say, great to be here and to go through what's happening in Stafford. So first of all, if we can just remind ourselves of why everybody should have Staffordshire on their radar. So we have world-class investment and development sites that are ready for you. Caroline went through a few of those earlier. We're ready for high-tech business, but we know that investors are looking for more than just property now. They want the property, they want a skilled workforce that's accessible, they want accessible sites, they want physical and digital connectivity to the world, and cost-competitive salaries. Staffordshire can offer all of that. We're a transforming and diverse place to do business. We've got high ambition, and the economy is currently undergoing an economic renaissance and stepping out of the shadows. There's a lot going on in Staffordshire, and I'm here today to give you an update of the wider work that's going on around Stafford. So investment in Stafford has soared to well over £120 million with major projects demonstrating a town that is very much on the up. There's a lot going on. We've got a brilliant connected county town that has kick-started its transformation programme with the 21 million Future High Street Fund project that will reinvigorate the historic Market Square ahead of residential and commercial redevelopment to revitalise the town centre. As you can see from the current slide, there's already been a number of investment projects that have happened. You're going to hear later about work that's going to be done to the new enterprise hub for up to 20 small businesses within the Shire Hall, which sits right in the heart of the county town centre. And I won't steal Nicola's thunder on that. She can give more detail around that. But alongside this, work is already underway on the £23 million state-of-the-art skills and engineering facility at Stafford College, ahead of the recently announced Institute of Technology for the Stafford campus. And funding is now in place for the £7.1 million Staffordshire History Centre. And infrastructure investment has been seen in the £63 million Stafford Western Access Road, which was completed in autumn 2021. So that's what we've done. Just to give you detail now of some of the future key major projects. And as Karen alluded to, HS2 is bringing opportunities through to the Stafford Station Gateway site, which is an exciting multi-million pound scheme to deliver a dynamic development within a larger master planned opportunity for new business, commercial and residential districts with direct access to HS2 and the conventional rail services at Stafford Station. The Gateway Master Plan would develop land near to the railway station and is at the heart of the wider development of Stafford as a sub-regional growth area, which, as mentioned, has already seen more than £120 million worth of investment. The Gateway, which is a 28-hectare site and has the opportunity to create a vibrant, active community with a range of innovative workplaces and a renewed leisure offer that embraces its unique location adjacent to the railway station. And this will benefit from a 50-minute journey time to London on the back of HS2. Overall, the site could see 120,000 square feet of new office and commercial workspace, 900 new homes, a new hotel and a multi-storey car park. The Eastgate scheme is an exciting opportunity to bring currently underutilised land and vacant buildings to create a new sense of place. It's bridging an important location for the town in the heart of its civic centre. Eastgate connects the Riverside shopping development with other parts of the town centre and has the potential to become a vibrant new community with new residential development, expecting around 200 new residential units alongside active ground floor commercial uses. Land assembly is currently taking place with planning to take place soon. As mentioned, Stafford has £21 million worth of future high street funding to improve the town centre. Several parts of the town centre will benefit from improved public realm settings and connectivity, such as the Market Square, which is just outside the new Shire Hall space. There's improvements to be made to the approaches to Stafford Station and around North Walls. And finally, but last but not least even, the final exciting development to touch on is the new Staffordshire History Centre. Four-storey extension is planned for the existing Staffordshire Record Office in Eastgate Street. A modern glazed link will be created between the office and the William Salt Library to form a new entrance and permanent exhibition space to showcase the county's collections. Other facilities will include modern reading areas, research labs, as well as additional strong rooms to provide space for a further 55 years worth of collections. A new learning programme will be created for schools alongside courses for adult learners, and there will also be a series of touring exhibitions and projects to bring the area's heritage to communities across the county. That's it for me. Thank you very much for listening. I'll pass you back to Alan, and I'll be on the panel later for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for that, Matt. And it's really exciting to see all of the investment that's happening in Stafford Borough. And some of those projects are genuinely exciting. As someone who's lived here for 30 years, it's great to see the investment in this historic centre. And also, thank you very much for stepping in at the last minute to deliver such a good presentation. And with that now, I'd like to introduce Nicola Kent, who's the Head of Business and Enterprise at Staffordshire County Council. And she's going to talk to us about how we're supporting Staffordshire to be the entrepreneurial county of opportunity. She'll give us an overview of our enterprise centres, and also talk about the Shire Hall, the history and its evolution, and also some of the exciting new future for it as an enterprise centre. So without further ado, over to you, Nicola.
Thank you very much, Alan. Good morning to you all. I am Nicola Kent, Head of Funding, Business and Enterprise for Staffordshire County Council, and I'm here to tell you about the proposals for the new Shire Hall Business Centre. Could I have slide 2, please? I was hoping to be standing in front of you saying, wow, just look at this amazing building. Isn't it going to make the most fantastic business centre? However, due to circumstances beyond any of our control, we're using Zoom again. So I'm going to do my best to paint you a picture through the image you see on the screen and a description of what to expect in a few months' time. And I very much hope that an in-person event can take place in April, which will give you the opportunity of a sneak preview of the facilities that will be available to businesses in the new Shire Hall Business Centre. Next slide, please. To start with, though, I'd like to talk to you about the County Council's portfolio of business premises, which are available for Staffordshire's sole trader, micro and small enterprises. The County Council has no desire to replace the private provision of business premises in the county. We want to work alongside the private sector by helping new and very small businesses get out of their spare room or garage and into their first work unit. This is something we feel is really important because if you've never run a business before, the terms and conditions used in the property sector are a completely unknown world. And we believe that we provide a service to help prepare people on what to expect in relation to business rates, leases, licenses, etc., in a supportive way. The County Council has 7 centres, 4 in Newcastle-under-Lyme, 1 in Stafford, 1 in Burton and 1 in Cannock. Some are purpose-built and others are converted from their original purpose, but all are very popular and generally run at 90%, sometimes 100% occupancies. The units vary. There are office and workshop units from as small as 160 square feet for 1 or 2 people, and much larger industrial units up to 2,400 square feet. Most units are provided to tenants on a monthly rolling licence, which provides a huge amount of flexibility, which is particularly useful for start-up or step-up businesses. The industrial units are operated through 5-year leases, and these, as I am sure you can imagine, are extremely popular and rarely vacant. We do have a waiting list in each of the centres though, so if you are looking for premises, please contact them for further information on what might be currently available. The contact details for all the enterprise centres can be found on the County Council's website. There is an administrator at each site who assists potential and existing tenants with their inquiries, and they provide information and assistance in areas such as health and safety by working with tenants on essential checks such as Legionella, fire, and inspections on roller shutter doors. They will also refer people to business support, make referrals to the Staffordshire Business Helpline or other partners such as the universities, the FSB, or the Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce. Next slide, please. The world is changing. We know that the majority of businesses in Staffordshire are very small, and the pandemic has made some people look at their lives and decide for the first time they would like to work for themselves. The advances in digital technology have made a huge difference in the last couple of years, and people have been able to work in ways that previously would not have been thought possible. but not everyone enjoys working at home every day, every week. So when the property services team first proposed the idea that part of the Shire Hall could become a business centre, I was really excited. We don't have any units in the high street area of a town centre, and I jumped at the opportunity to do something a little different to meet the needs of the new ways of working. The section of the Shire Hall that used to be the library many years ago is currently being refurbished to make it suitable for a business centre. There will be all the usual facilities such as manned reception, kitchen and refreshment areas and meeting rooms. Due to the fantastic town centre location, it's very close to coffee shops and cafes, and a short walk through the beautiful Victoria Park takes you direct to the Stafford train station in a matter of minutes. We will have 21 units in the new centre, which can be tenanted using the monthly rolling licence system. Units are not large and are all less than 323 square feet, so they are perfect for trading startups or step-up young businesses. These units will be rented on a cost per square foot basis, plus a service charge to cover operational costs, such as utilities, reception, and services such as cleaning. However, we also plan to have other, more flexible ways of using the business centre. Due to the design of the building, there are two large open plan balconies, which we are converting into working space. Some areas will have enclosed and semi-enclosed pods for private calls or Teams conversations. There will be desks and tables for your laptops, but there will also be more relaxed seating areas for informal meetings and breakout space. We believe this is the workspace of the future, and we hope it will assist businesses on their recovery journey back to growth. These open plan flexible areas are enabling us to expand our portfolio of tenant agreements to include some new options. Hot desk rental will be available at a reasonable cost per month, so you could book a desk as many times as you need in a month, or pay a daily rate for occasional use. PO box rental will be an option, and this will include a hot desk, which can be booked as often as required for a fixed monthly fee. The final option will be for a business to become a Shire Hall patron, and this will enable you to book up to 3 desks on any day, use a meeting room every week. You would get the PO box rental and use of office equipment such as photocopiers and printers, all for a monthly fee. All of the above options include the use of the fantastic flexible open plan meeting space, which will be filled with practical, comfortable furniture for use for team or client meetings. I hope this gives you a picture of what we're planning to do. We will keep you informed on progress through media releases, social media, and the QR code on the banner in front of the building. Next slide, please. In the meanwhile, if anyone would like to discuss using the Shire Hall Business Centre in the future, I would be delighted to hear from you. And my email address is shown on this final slide. I have also provided the Staffordshire Business Helpline number. For anyone with any business inquiry, they are here to help you. Thank you for your time. Over to you, Alan.
Thanks for that, Nicola. And I'd just like to kind of reflect on some of the things we've heard today. So it's been a really interesting session. I think if I think back to Alan White's presentation, it's really interesting to think about the joined up thinking, the joined up working, and the approach that our councils are taking about putting citizens and businesses first, and they're really thinking proactively about hiding the wiring around a lot of this stuff. I think if I think about Karen's session, I really enjoyed taking away the fact that there's lots of work going on to ensure that we maintain our advantage through our location, through some of the additional investments in transport. And also it allows us to position ourselves, the benefits we deliver to the whole country through those fantastic transport links. If you think about Matt's session, and Nicola's as well, the opportunities to re-envision our town centres and our fantastic market towns across our county, and including both of our cities, and just think about those new purposes. I think it's great to see how we are stepping in to fill a market gap in our area and repurpose it and provide new life to our town centres. I think that the Shire Hall project is extremely exciting, and that it will start to bring footfall back into the town centre. It'll be hopefully affluent people as business leaders. It fills a gap in terms of allowing people who want that start up and grow on space but also the creative ways that it's being provided for people, so that it's on a, it's a pay as you go, as much you can, as on a consumption basis, which I think will allow businesses to be able to really imagine this as a place where you can create a business hub in the middle of town, the town centre. And I think it will create other opportunities for our town centre based businesses in terms of adding footfall for daytime, but also twilight and nighttime opportunities as well. So I think it's been really exciting to see the vision that's been brought together and the amount of proactive work that's going on to really think about how we can put our county at the forefront of economic development, and that will drive benefits to everyone in the county. And with that, I'd now like to invite my panelists to look at some of the questions. So if I just bring up the Q&A, just let me ad lib and work my way through this one. So I think my first question, I'm going to go to Karen, please. Karen, I think you mentioned it, but I'd like to just call it out again, please. Can you just talk us through the timescales for HS2 delivery, please?
Yeah, of course, Alan, happy to do that. So I think what the government have committed to now in terms of HS1 and HS2A is by 2029, the line between Old Oak Common, Birmingham and Crewe will be completed and in operation. And then there's a slight delay to the link into Euston, which takes us up to 2031. So that's all published and fairly well recognised. Obviously, that's delayed from what was originally published in terms of 2026 and 2027 for all those links. There remains a little bit of disappointment about those delays. I think what we're looking to challenge on more is the timescales for the links beyond that. So the phase 2B between Crewe and Manchester is the next section of the line to be built, and the integrated rail plan put that for around about 2035, possibly a little bit beyond that. But that means that from a Midlands from west to east Midlands connectivity perspective, the key line for us is the West Midlands to East Midlands, which is potentially going to be pushed way beyond 2040 now, which from our perspective is far too late for lines to be for the HS2 line to be arriving and delivering real key transport connectivity benefits across the Midlands. So we see our role now as being to challenge those timescales and trying to bring them forward as much as possible, and trying to deliver those benefits across the Midlands and for Staffordshire much sooner. So we're kind of champing at the bit to government to try and kind of really push those timescales as best as we can to get those benefits sooner.
Brilliant. Thanks, Karen. And I think it is really important we bring that forward as soon as possible. As I say, in my commercial life, time kills deals, and the sooner we can get going, then the faster we can get some benefits for the area. I've got a question from Matt. In terms of some of the various schemes, what's the timetable for these to start? And then if we just tag on to that, kind of two additional questions. How are we going to be able to keep up to date? So how will people know what's happening? And then also coming from the chat, again, people have been very specific about the station gateway project. So when will that one start as well? So if you can tell us when broadly most schemes will start, and then drill into the station gateway, and then how we can start to keep up to date, please.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Alan. So start off with the easy ones. The History Centre is projected a spring start. To get that underway. As we mentioned in the slides, the funding's in place to do that, so that looks as though that'll get going sooner rather than later. The Eastgate development proposals are still in talks at the moment and in development throughout 2022. They're assembling the land together. Planning looks like that'll be go-to planning for 2023 and onwards, and then development on site thereafter. With regards to the gateway, which is a huge site, which I believe is a mix of private and public ownership. Again, they're looking at getting planning towards 2023, and again starting on that shortly after. That's all obviously to be confirmed and subject to various funding streams and bits and bobs that come into that. Keeping up to date, various ways. We're very good through the Make It team of making sure that our social media is up to date and spreading that off. So if you're not following us through social media channels, through Make It and We Are Staffordshire streams, then make sure you're doing that. But also from the website, so makeitstokestaffs.co.uk and also staffordbc.gov.uk have various pages for projects and news, and also on the Stafford Borough Council website, they've got a specific regeneration project page that you can keep up to date with everything that's going on in Stafford Town Centre. I think that was all questions, Alan. Have I missed any? Or?
No, I think you've got that. Yeah, no, I think you've got that. I think that's right. And then just thanks to Francis Beattie, who's also reminding us that the majority of the Future High Streets Fund projects will be delivered by 2024. So it feels like in the next 2 years, people will see lots of things happening and or completing, and some even bigger projects starting. So it feels like we're really in the middle of some really exciting economic development. And if I can just go back an hour and think about Caroline, today's all about how we've been positioning ourselves economically and working together as a team. But specifically around Make It, what work are you guys doing to position Staffordshire in the investment world, and what kind of stuff have you got upcoming?
I think it's really exciting times for Staffordshire. So what we're really doing is starting to take a more place-based approach to the work that we're sort of delivering. So sort of showcasing the livability as well as the investments of opportunities, obviously attending external events, both sort of local, regional, national and international, to promote Staffordshire. We're obviously working now closely again with the Midlands Engine, and they are producing what they call their new Atlas portfolio. That will showcase major projects across the whole of Staffordshire. And obviously they'll be promoting that internationally on our behalf as well. And obviously we'll do joint events with them. I think we've got the focus on high streets and the startups. I think that's a new focus that perhaps Make It hasn't dealt with before, but small businesses and enterprises are really, really important to our growing economy, as well as looking at those larger sort of major projects, such as the large levelling up schemes that are happening right across Staffordshire in various different pockets. I think we're looking again at undertaking the sector-specific research, the events and campaigns that will support that, and also working with stakeholders with a particular focus on skills, which is really, really important to obviously businesses as we move forward. I think also prioritising our presence online, which Matt's just talked a little bit about, and relaunching the Make It brand in 2022. So comprehensively looking at how we can package up what that offer is now to businesses and occupiers wanting to move into Staffordshire or grow in Staffordshire.
Thanks, Caroline. And you just triggered a thought, or you reminded me of something again in Nicola's session, as well as you think about repurposing high streets and enterprise centres, is also, I think something we often overlook is the important role that these play in driving equality and diversity across our areas. So I know that a lot of our enterprise centres are occupied by female entrepreneurs, and those additional services that we provide allow more females to get into entrepreneurship and drive more startups. And it's really exciting to see those startups become businesses that increase in size. So I think it's really important to think about all of the impact that our enterprise centres have in terms of regeneration, but also creating opportunity that drives equality and diversity. So that's really exciting too, as part of the Staffordshire story. So I'll start to dive into some of the questions from some of the Zoom questions that are coming in. First one I'm going to go to for Trudy is, many of our places in Staffordshire have been lucky enough to attract town deal funding. Most of them will have some sort of transport projects involved. What is Midlands Connect's perspective on those, and what support have you been able to offer?
Yeah, thanks, Alan. So one of the things I didn't cover in my introduction to Midlands Connect is our role around the focus on strategic transport connectivity. And we rely very much on our local authority partners, such as Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, to deal with those more local issues around towns funds. We don't tend to get actively involved in the detail of those towns funds bids and deliveries. We only tend to become specifically aware of the details when they interface directly with the more strategic projects. Having said that, however, we have recently introduced a new work stream called Access to Rail, which is giving a sort of strategic overview of how some of those more local schemes can come together to improve access to the strategic connectivity we're creating through our rail system. And I think as part of that work stream, it's very, very new. We might get a little bit more into the detail of how the town's funds schemes and other third-party investment and other local authority schemes can actually better dovetail with our own strategic transport investment. And I'm really looking forward to getting under the skin of that one next year and being able to give you a better answer to that next year, in a year or two's time, once we've sort of really started to understand how we can better link those two aspects of the transport network together.
Thanks for that, Karen. And just while I've got you, there's a comment earlier on in the session around provisions for EV facilities. So it's something I know quite a bit about because my involvement with Midlands Connect. So you might have I might be able to answer it, or you can contribute as well. But I know there's a lot of work going on around future transport methods and alternative forms of transport. Do you want to make a comment there?
I will, although it's not my personal area of expertise. But yeah, we've been doing some really great work on a range of alternative fuels, and in particular the electric vehicle charging network in the last year or so. We released our electric vehicle report about a month or so ago, which will be available on our website. I will make sure that I provide a link to that to Lauren and Louisa, so they can share it with the group afterwards. But yeah, I mean, I think some of what we've identified kind of picks up where EV charging is particularly weak and where it's particularly challenging at the moment. I think there's a lot of challenge around EV charging on residential streets where it's all on-street parking, and how do we do EV charging there? Again, in terms of EV charging at transport infrastructure hubs such as stations, that kind of really comes down to the local schemes and being driven by local authorities. But again, we're helping out our local authority partners by setting up an EV charging planning tool that is going to be coming online very, very soon to help local authorities to work out where investment in EV charging is going to be most beneficial.
Thanks, Karen.
So lots of exciting work. It's just not my area of expertise, but as I say, I'll pop the link to Louisa so she can share it maybe after the webinar finishes.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Srum. There is something I'm involved in. There is a lot of activity and a lot of thinking going around EV, and I think again, there is a lot happening in our area. We've got sites opening in Stafford, and I think lots of those issues are starting to move on now in terms of EV adoption. Next one is for, I think, probably Alan White. You might be best to answer this. You mentioned councils collaborating on a number of issues, including climate change. As about 70% of Staffordshire is farmed land, what plans do you have to include landowners and their representatives, e.g. the NFU, in these conversations? And then you also mentioned waste and increasing recycling. Do you think the county council and districts have a role to play in educating the public to reduce consumption and therefore the amount of waste generated?
Thanks, Alan. Great question. And thank you, Jeremy, for submitting that. As it happens, we recently launched our climate change action plan for the period of 2021 to 2025. It was late last year, led by Councillor Simon Tagg, who's the portfolio holder for climate and environment. He's also the leader of Newcastle and Lyme Borough Council, as it happens. The climate change action plan has 5 themes in it. I'll just dwell on 3 of those briefly, if I may, Alan. Theme 3 is the natural environment, and set out there is a desire, determination to consult with landowners and other organisations like the NFU about the future of the natural environment across Staffordshire, because as he correctly identifies, 70% of it is farmed. And as it happens, only yesterday in our meeting, we raised the issue of the consultation with landowners over the next few months. There is a couple of other themes just to touch on to do with waste and climate change. The first one is the theme 4, which is waste reduction. As it stands, domestic waste arisings currently increase at the same rate as economic growth. So if GDP growth is 2%, waste arisings increase by 2%. And that's not sustainable. We need to reduce packaging. We need to encourage reuse of old items. And that's part of the package of measures that we're putting in place with our district and borough colleagues. And then theme 5 is behaviour change. You can't just expect the people of Staffordshire just say, yeah, all right. We've got to help people think about changing their behaviour, think about using less. And that's part of the package of measures that's included in the Climate Change Action Plan. Alan, that action plan's available online. All you need to do is go to Staffordshire, type in Staffordshire County Council Climate Change Action Plan, and you'll see it there for you to peruse. It's really straightforward to read. And if anybody feels like they want to contribute to it, both in terms of consultation or ideas about how we take it forward, that'd be brilliant. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks for that, Alan. It's great to see the thought leadership in the most proactive element there around behavioural change, because that's what will actually drive the change we're looking to see. Next one is a comment around a tweet yesterday around Made in Stoke-on-Trent as a programme. Does that drive a perception there's a widening gap between Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire? And does that mean that we'll all be able to benefit from the Levelling Up Fund? So I'm not sure who would like to take that one.
I'll have a crack. I think the important thing to remember is the Levelling Up Fund does exactly what it says on the can. Okay, it helps places to level up, and any investment in Stoke has obvious significant benefits for those people living in North Staffordshire. We live in a community of Staffordshire. It includes Stoke-on-Trent. And what's good for Stoke-on-Trent is good for Staffordshire. So I think that investment in Staffordshire allows all of us to benefit from the levelling up. Investment in Stoke allows all of us to invest benefit from the Levelling Up Fund money. And I look forward to working with Stoke-on-Trent City Council to see the exciting projects they've got coming forward.
Thanks, Alan.
I'm also happy to sorry about that. Also happy just to jump in on there in terms of Made in Stoke-on-Trent. We are looped in with Made on Stoke-on-Trent. Jenny Amphlett actually runs that team and that piece of work. And in the main, it's often about connecting philanthropists or people who have been very successful in Stoke-on-Trent as an area to bang the drum for Stoke-on-Trent. And as Alan White has just said, in doing that, that also bangs the drum for the wider Staffordshire area as well. So we are looped in, and through some of our subgroup work that we're doing through We Are Staffordshire, we're looking to work even more closely with Jenny so that we can help leverage some of the benefits of that joint working. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Louisa. While I've got you on, there's a question just come in, which I think
Alan, I think someone's muted you.
Oh, sorry. In terms of, can you just give us a bit of an update around the broader ambitions for the Ambassador Programme and how people can get involved?
Yes, of course. In terms of the Ambassador Programme, we are looking to bring businesses, small and large, together to help sell Staffordshire. But also through that, the twofold benefit is we want to promote and profile businesses as well. So through events such as this, we've had a number of small and large organisations come and tell their story. and therefore we're connecting people to other businesses, normally hopefully in the room. Unfortunately that's not the case today, but in normal times and in previous events, one of the real strengths of that is being able to go and talk to other people who might be interested in your product or service or business or funding opportunity, as that might be. And beyond our borders, beyond the Staffordshire Ambassador events, there are further opportunities as well. So I've already briefly touched on the Staffordshire Day event down at the House of Commons, and I know that Caroline helpfully talked about MIPIM and UK REIF that we are attending as well. And we do take businesses along with us as part of that sales force for Staffordshire at those events. So it's a real opportunity to engage completely for free, to make connections and network, but also to get some free PR for your own businesses and organisations as part of the wider Staffordshire story. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah,
but happy to provide more detail. If you drop me an email, happy to set up a call. And we do have regular welcome and onboarding sessions as well that you can dip into with a coffee. Thanks.
Thanks, Nat. And I think it's at that point to remind people, if there's anything that's come up today, or if you'd like to get in touch with all of the panelists, our details will have been shared as part of this session. We'll exist in most of the places you'd expect to find us, in social media and that kind of stuff, so you can come to us direct. Or if you contact Louisa and her team, then they'll be happy to put you in touch with any of us, and everyone, including myself, be happy to speak to anybody who has any question you'd like to raise, or any conversation you'd like to take further as well. If I just move on there to another question. Staffordshire, as many of you will know, has more miles of canal than anywhere else in Britain. Does it form part of our plans to leverage the canal network or waterways as part of our regeneration work? And I know we are doing that successfully, particularly in Stone. I know as part of the developments in Stoke-on-Trent that's been considered, but does anyone want to have any other comments around how we might be thinking about using our waterways?
If I could, Alan, I'm also a Lichfield District Councillor, and I know the Lichfield and Hatherton Canal Restoration Project forms a core part of the Lichfield District Local Plan. Because of the benefits it does bring to tourism, and I know that very significant accommodations have been made in that plan to facilitate the canal restoration project. The volunteers there are doing a fantastic job. They raise huge amounts of money. They dedicate themselves to bringing the canal back to life. But at the moment, it doesn't form part of any of our key objectives as a strategic transport authority. But certainly we will support any efforts that the districts and boroughs are putting towards the leisure and tourism component that brings with it, and the benefits that are already highlighted in the question, Alan.
Thanks. Yeah, and there are lots of examples across the patch where it is being included, aren't there? I think I can probably combine a couple of questions here now. Can anyone just bring us to light on plans to use any of the environmentally friendly transit systems we have and forward disused rail links? I know we have a good investment in cycle networks around here, and I use lots of those myself. But any comments we can make around continuing to invest in that?
Yeah, so the Minister, Wendy Morton, came to visit to take a look at South Staffordshire, to take a look at the Lichfield, Alrowus, Burton, Derby line, which is an existing line, but is a bit of a bone shaker and generally used only for sort of when there's a diversion for railways. Who knew you could do a diversion for railways? But it's also used periodically for freight. We're very keen to bring that back into use, because that will improve connectivity between Birmingham and Burton, Derby, and also get us to the National Memorial Arboretum, which will augment the connectivity along the A38, which is struggling a little bit because it's quite busy. The connectivity to the along the A38 between Birmingham and Derby is really important to us. I've had numerous conversations with the Mayor of the West Midlands about how we can unlock that and improve that infrastructure. So yeah, there are conversations going on, Alan. I can't talk to very small detailed ones around cycling networks. They do form part of district and boroughs' local plans, and we are keen to promote them as and where we can. Thanks, Alan.
I can pick up a little bit on that one too, Alan, if it would be helpful.
Yeah, please.
So I think the other one that's probably of particular interest from a Staffordshire perspective is the Stoke to Leekbrook line. And although it starts in Stoke, it then goes up into the Staffordshire moorlands in Leek, which is a particularly deprived area, what I would describe as suffering from transport poverty. Now, whilst Midlands Connect doesn't tend to get involved with these schemes at inception, I think it's worth saying that across the board, I think there are opportunities to do something a bit different on some of these corridors. And look at some kind of, I mean, we have extensive innovation across the Midlands in terms of new kinds of rolling stock, things like very light rail, ultralight rail, tram trains and things like that, that all potentially provide an option to provide a much better value for money way of delivering mass transit services on some of these key corridors. And I think that's probably Midlands Connect's take on it, is what can we do more innovatively to create better connectivity through some of the exciting technology advancements that are going on at the moment.
Thanks for that, Karen. I'm not sure if there's something that'll be your expertise, so I think your answer might be we'll go and look. But it's been a question in terms of, in addition to EV charging, do we have any plans for hydrogen self-fueling stations? It's something I'm moderately close to, and I don't know the answer to that. So it's a bit of a stinky. I imagine you might not know.
No, I'm more than happy to take that question, Alan, because we've been doing a lot of really exciting research into hydrogen fueling for both road and rail. More so on road at the moment. We're just starting with our rail work now. But yeah, we are again, one of the pieces of work we're specifically doing in the year to come is to look much more in detail at recharging and refueling sites across the Midlands. Now, whether any of them will be in Staffordshire, I'm not sure yet. I hope there will be some. But it's really kind of looking at the opportunities to link up hydrogen fueling for HGVs, which is something that we're doing with Midlands Engine and University of Nottingham at the moment, but also looking at opportunities to make that not just multimodal, but multi-sector, so that if hydrogen is generated, that it can be used by transport, but can also be used by other industry, by energy, for example. So we are sort of delving into the opportunities for using hydrogen as an alternative fuel in quite a bit of depth now. So hopefully that answers that question as far as I possibly can. But I think it's a watch this space on that one.
Could I just fly the flag for Staffordshire on this one as well, please, Alan? Because Karen's quite right to identify Nottingham as a place where some of this research is going on. But the University of Kiel launched the UK's first grid-injected hydrogen pilot last year or the year before, I think it was. And that connection between Nottingham and Kiel along the A50, A500 corridor, for which there has just been an announcement made through Midlands Connect, thank you very much indeed, I think gives us a really fantastic opportunity for Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent to be at the heart of the hydrogen fuel economy. We know that there are some of the big manufacturers, car manufacturers along the corridor. JCB is going to have to think about ways to power its tractors and diggers. You can't use a battery to get a digger shifting big things. So it's going to have to be some other form of propulsion. So Karen, brilliant opportunity there through Midlands Connect, and unlocking that through the announcements around A50, A500 corridor today is absolutely superb. Yeah,
no, agreed. No, I as soon as you mentioned it, Alan, I was like, yes, I did see that yesterday. So much going on at the moment. But yeah, it's very exciting, definitely.
And thanks, Alan, for the prompt. It's really exciting to see the work that is going on with hydrogen. And the viral video that Harry Metcalf did with JCB, because it came up in conversation only yesterday, where JCB are reimagining how to take a traditional engine with only a cylinder head replacement and move that to hydrogen. And it's really exciting to think that Staffordshire is pioneering that. So I think it just remains for me now to thank all of our contributors, all the panelists, and also the audience today. So thank you so much for giving up your time. Been really grateful for you to give us your attention for the full hour and a bit, and it's been really good to share the conversation with you. Please continue to support these events. They're a really good way for us to tell the story of Staffordshire, give you those anecdotes, give you that insight to what's happening, and hopefully they'll help you as our sales force to give you those snippets so you can you can buttonhole somebody and make sure they get the fantastic story about what's going on in our fantastic county and our two cities. And there will be more sessions. The next one's in April. So please look out for the post-event follow-up and make sure you engage and you sign up early. And who knows, it may be lovely to actually be together face-to-face at some point in the future too. As I say, please get out there, get selling. You are our sellers, you are our strongest asset, and we have this incredible opportunity to sell this incredible place. So please get out there, set yourself a target, think how many people you can speak to, think of the places where you can get to and where you can tell our story. And with that, I'd just like to wish you all a great day and remember to tell someone absolutely fantastic about our fantastic place. Thank you very much, everybody.